I know, the name sounds a little intimidating, supervisory control and data acquisition. But trust me, these systems are way more interesting than you might think, and they impact our daily lives in ways you probably don't even realize, especially when it comes to something we all care about, the food we eat. For this deep dive, we're looking at a YouTube video from the channel Don Kampankam. It's called SCADA, EP.1.
Okay.
SCADA, cooler database.
Oh, yeah, that's a great video. It really breaks things down in a way that's easy to understand.
It really does. I learned a ton from it. So to kick things off, can you give us a quick overview of what a SCADA system actually does?
You got it. So imagine a massive factory floor,
Hmm.
with tons of machines, tanks, pipelines,
Mm-hmm.
all working together to produce something we use every day. Now imagine trying to monitor and control all of that from one central location. That's basically what a SCADA system does. It's like the central nervous system of the operation. So it's like having a bird's eye view of the whole process and being able to make adjustments on the fly.
Exactly.
Can you give us an example of how this would work in a real-world setting?
Sure. The video uses the example of a milk production plant. Think about all the steps involved in getting milk from the farm to your fridge. Pasteurization, homogenization, packaging, you name it.
Right, and each step has to be carefully controlled to make sure the milk is safe.
Exactly. SCADA systems can monitor things like temperature, flow rate, pressure, even the position of valves. It's pretty amazing.
So they're basically making sure that everything's running smoothly and within the required parameters.
Yep, that's the gist of it.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. But I'm guessing there's more to it than just keeping an eye on things, right? I mean, what's the point of collecting all that data if you're not going to use it for something?
You're absolutely right. The data that SCADA systems collect is incredibly valuable. Think of it as a goldmine of information just waiting to be analyzed. We can use it for quality control, obviously.
Making sure each batch of milk meets the required standards.
Exactly. But it's also useful for optimizing processes, finding inefficiencies, and even predicting potential problems before they occur.
Okay, so it's not just about reacting to what's happening now, but also using the data to learn and improve for the future.
Right on.
This is fascinating stuff. But I have to admit, I'm still a little fuzzy on how it all works. How do you actually connect all these different parts of a production process to one central system?
Yeah, it's a bit like trying to get 100 different instruments to play in perfect harmony.
That's a great analogy.
The video explains it really well using a flowchart analogy. It all starts at level 1 with the sensors.
So those are like the individual musicians, each playing their own part.
Exactly. The sensors are the eyes and ears of the system, gathering data on things like temperature, pressure, flow rate, and more.
Got it. So we've got the sensors collecting data, but how does that data get back to the conductor, the central control system?
That's where level 2 comes in. The controllers, or PLCs, Programmable Logic Controllers.
So if the sensors are the individual musicians, the PLCs are like the section leaders coordinating everything.
That's one way to think about it. The PLCs are the brains of the operation. They take the raw data from the sensors, process it, and make decisions based on preset parameters.
So for instance, if a sensor picks up that a tank is getting too hot, the PLC would activate a cooling system.
Exactly. The PLC is constantly evaluating the data, making adjustments to keep everything running smoothly.
Wow, that's incredible. So we have sensors collecting data and PLC is processing it. But where does all that information go? How do the human operators see what's happening?
That brings us to level 3, the SCADA software itself. This is where all the data comes together, where it's visualized and analyzed.
So it's like a high-tech control panel where operators can see the big picture.
Think of it as a customizable dashboard with graphs, charts, and indicators. An operator can see at a glance what's going on in every corner of the plant. They can spot potential problems and take action if needed.
So it's not just about seeing the data, but being able to act on it in real time.
Exactly. That's what makes SCADA systems so powerful.
This is seriously blowing my mind. I'm really starting to see how these systems play such a vital role in so many industries.
It's pretty amazing stuff when you think about it.
It really is. I think we've covered a lot of ground already, though.
Yeah, we've just scratched the surface.
Maybe we should take a quick break and come back to dive a little deeper.
Sounds good to me.
Welcome back, everyone. Before the break, we were talking about SCADA systems. You know how they act like a central nervous system for industrial processes, with sensors and PLCs and software all working together like a well-coordinated orchestra. I'm really eager to dig a bit deeper into what happens once all that data reaches the SCADA software itself. What kind of insights can operators actually get from it?
Well, the fascinating thing is that the software doesn't just display raw data, it turns it into a visual story, you know?
Okay, so instead of just seeing a bunch of numbers on a screen, Operators are getting a clear picture of what's happening across the entire operation.
Exactly. Imagine a customizable dashboard, almost like a high-tech control panel, where operators can see real-time updates on key parameters.
Okay, I'm picturing graphs and charts, maybe some color-coded indicators.
You got it. An operator can see at a glance if a tank's temperature is within safe limits, or if a pump is working efficiently, or if production is on track to meet targets.
So it's like having X-ray vision into the heart of the factory. I can see how that would be invaluable for spotting potential problems early on.
Absolutely. Remember that milk production plant we talked about?
Yeah.
Imagine a sensor detects a sudden drop in pressure in a pipeline. The SCADA software could immediately flag that on the dashboard, maybe with a flashing red alert or something.
Oh, wow. So the operator could quickly investigate and take action before
Yeah.
it becomes a major issue.
Exactly. It's like having a built-in early warning system.
That's incredible.
And the beauty of it is that these systems are so customizable. They can be tailored to fit the needs of any industry.
So the dashboard for a food processing plant would look different from one for a power grid, for example.
Yeah, right. But the underlying principle is the same: to give operators the insights they need to make informed decisions in real time.
Okay, so we've got real-time monitoring, customizable dashboards, early warning systems. Is there anything else SCADA software can do?
Oh, tons of stuff.
Like what?
Well, one incredibly valuable aspect is data logging and analysis. Remember all that data we talked about?
Yeah.
Well, it's not just used for immediate monitoring, it's also stored and analyzed to uncover hidden trends and insights.
So it's like having a detailed history of everything that's happened.
Exactly.
And you can use that information to improve processes and prevent future problems.
Right. Imagine being able to look back at the temperature logs for a batch of soup and verify that it consistently met the required temperature for sterilization.
Or you could analyze production data to identify bottlenecks and make things more efficient.
Exactly. This historical data is a gold mine for quality control, compliance with regulations, and even process improvement.
It's almost like having a detective on staff, constantly analyzing clues and patterns.
I like that. And that detective work can be really powerful. By crunching all that data, companies can identify patterns that lead to equipment failures, optimize energy consumption, even predict future demand for their products.
This is blowing my mind. We've talked about monitoring, controlling, analyzing, but can SCADA systems actually take action on their own?
That's a great question. And it brings us to another fascinating aspect of SCADA: automation and remote control.
Okay, now we're talking.
While operators always have the final say, many systems are sophisticated enough to take certain actions automatically, based on preset parameters, of course.
So for example, if a temperature sensor detects an overheating issue, the system could automatically shut down the equipment to prevent damage.
Precisely. It's all about creating a more efficient and responsive system.
That's incredible. But it also raises the question for me, if these systems can be controlled remotely, what about security?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, couldn't they be vulnerable to hacking or sabotage?
It's a valid concern, for sure, and it's why cybersecurity is absolutely paramount when it comes to SCADA systems. I mean, we're talking about critical infrastructure in many cases.
Power grids, water treatment plants, transportation systems.
Exactly. A security breach could have disastrous consequences.
So what kinds of measures are in place to protect these systems?
Well, there are multiple layers of security involved, from firewalls and intrusion detection systems to robust authentication protocols and encryption.
So it's like having a high-tech security system guarding the control room 24/7.
You could say that.
That's reassuring. You know, the more we learn about SCADA, the more complex it seems.
It is a multifaceted field, that's for sure.
Is there anything else you think we should touch on before wrapping up?
Well, we've covered a lot of ground already. But if we zoom out a bit and look at the bigger picture, there's one more aspect I think is worth mentioning: the future of SCADA.
Okay, now that sounds really interesting.
This technology is constantly evolving, driven by advancements in areas like artificial intelligence and machine learning.
AI and SCADA, what does that look like?
Well, imagine systems that can not only monitor and control, but also learn from the data they collect, becoming more intelligent and proactive over time.
So we could have SCADA systems that can predict equipment failures before they occur,
Exactly.
or optimize processes in real time to reduce waste,
Right.
or even adapt to changing conditions without human intervention.
Now you're getting it.
That sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie.
It's an exciting time to be following the evolution of SCADA, that's for sure.
It really is. I feel like we've only just scratched the surface of what's possible.
We have, but I think that's a good place to leave it for now.
Let our listeners ponder the possibilities.
Exactly.
Let's take a quick break and come back for our final thoughts.
Welcome back, everyone. So we spent this whole deep dive talking about SCADA systems, and I have to say I'm really impressed. I mean, these systems are way more complex and sophisticated than I ever imagined.
Yeah, it's pretty mind-blowing when you think about all the work they're doing behind the scenes. Exactly. We talked about the milk production plant, but it's so much more than that. SCADA systems are keeping our power grids running, our water clean, our transportation systems moving.
Yeah, they're pretty much essential for modern life at this point.
And as we head into the future, it seems like their role is only going to become more important.
Absolutely, especially with all the advancements in AI and machine learning we were just talking about.
Right. You mentioned systems that could predict problems before they even happen.
Exactly. Imagine a SCADA system that's so smart. It can analyze data from all its sensors, recognize patterns, and alert operators to potential issues before they cause any major disruptions.
That would be incredible. Talk about preventative maintenance.
It's not just about preventing problems, though.
Okay.
AI-powered SCADA systems could also optimize processes in real time, making sure everything runs as efficiently as possible.
So less waste, lower energy consumption, higher productivity.
Exactly. And who knows what other possibilities will emerge as these technologies continue to develop.
It's really exciting to think about. But it also makes me wonder, what does all this automation mean for the human workforce?
It's a good question, and one that a lot of people are asking. Will robots eventually take over all the jobs?
Right, that's what everyone's worried about.
I think it's more likely that AI and machine learning will augment human capabilities rather than replacing them entirely.
So it's not about humans versus machines,
Right.
but rather humans and machines working together,
Exactly. Think of it as a collaboration.
where each brings their own unique strengths to the table.
The machines can handle the data crunching, the pattern recognition, while humans provide the intuition, the creativity, the problem-solving skills.
That makes sense. So maybe instead of fearing the rise of the machines, we should embrace the possibilities that this collaboration could bring.
Absolutely. Imagine a future where AI-powered SCADA systems help us create a safer, more efficient, more sustainable world.
That's a vision worth striving for. Well, I think this is a good place to wrap things up. We've learned so much about SCADA systems, from the basics of how they work to the incredible possibilities that lie ahead.
It's been a fascinating journey.
It really has. I hope our listeners have enjoyed it as much as we have. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the world of SCADA systems. Until next time.